Good evening, everyone. Good evening to those top of the league. We are still top of the league, believe it or not. I'm handing the reins over to young Christopher there, and I'll be right back at the end. So, Chris, take it away.
Let's crack on. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to those people listening into us who have joined us live, and of course, who may be listening to us as a on-demand approach. I often do that whilst I'm going for a run. I like to have listened to a podcast. I wasn't going for a run, but thank you very much to everyone that's joining us: Robert Stevens, Barnaby Jones, Lynn Simpson, Nigel Plum. Thank you very much for being part of our world for this evening. And hopefully what we're about to go through for the next hour is a little bit of catharsis, because we were just talking about this beforehand, Amanda, when you and I, just before we went live, and we were talking about the reaction to today's 1-1 draw against Southampton at St Mary's. Bit of a bogey team for us. We can get into all of that. But I said to you, I think maybe, and I'm guilty of this as well, I think maybe we're getting a bit greedy as Arsenal fans, because a 1-1, particularly with the context of some of the other matches that have happened this season, is
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened there.
Oh, God, I thought my internet had gone down.
Me too. I
wasn't connected to the internet, and I am. So I really apologise about that. Carry on.
Yes, it's fine. Let's get straight into it, actually. So I said before in the chat, Amanda, that I think maybe we are getting greedy as Arsenal fans, because we've been treated to fantastic football, players that we're invested in, that we love to watch. We've been playing good stuff. We've won, 12 games this season since pre-season, and we come up against the Southampton team today that I didn't think were at that great shakes, that maybe they got a bit of fortune, a few things like the refereeing decisions. But first question straight off the bat for you is, do you think we're a bit greedy as Arsenal fans based on the reaction that you've seen?
I think it depends how old you are, if I'm honest. I don't really want to be ageist, but the older ones seem to go, okay, we've got a really hard-fought point of Southampton. We didn't turn up in the second half. We're still top of the league. We're top of the league where we never thought we'd ever be. We didn't lose. We would have lost that last year. And calm down, everybody. We're not going to win every game. We're not going to lose every game. We're not going to draw every game. It's going to be different every match. Did we deserve to win? No, we didn't. A draw was a fair result. So I think what I am enjoying about podcasting a few hours later, where I used to go straight after the match, was I've calmed down. And obviously in between that, Tottenham have lost, so it sort of helps a little bit. And remember, we got a point. So we haven't lost. Yes, we haven't won, but we haven't lost. So I'm all for living in the moment, Chris. And I've been saying this to everybody for weeks. Enjoy it now. We don't know how long it's going to last. Yep. City could be above us and flying ahead soon. Just enjoy it. We're still top of the league. We're top of every league that we're in.
Yeah, exactly. We're top of the Europa League. We're top of the Premier League. We played 11 matches. I think there's 3 more matches before we go off to the World Cup. If we can beat Nottingham Forest, if we can beat Wolves, even if we get a draw against Chelsea, I think we'll probably be there or thereabouts. But Mr. Cook, thoughts on your immediate sort of, what were you feeling? What was coursing through the veins post-match? Let's do that, and then we'll get into going chronologically. So talking about the lineup itself.
Post-match, I won't lie, I was a bit frustrated, but like Amanda said, we didn't deserve to win this game, and it'd be wrong to pretend that we did. I think the reason I felt so frustrated was that because in the first half we had more than enough chances to comfortably win the game, and if we had our shooting boots on, then we'd have been out of sight before half-time. And the real frustrating thing is we had a lot of clear-cut chances. Odegaard had that one, which he should have done a lot better with, but then he played 2 precise balls through to Jesus, which he should have done a hell of a lot better with. So, yeah, I mean, based on that first half, we should have won the game. But, you can't just turn up for 45 minutes. And I know Arteta doesn't want to blame fatigue, but I do think in reality that is having a bit of an effect on the squads. That game against PSV, a lot went into it, even though we did dominate and were comfortable. I mean, we had to work really hard to get that goal. We didn't get it till quite late on. And a lot of the players that played in that game were playing again today. So I do think there is an element of fatigue, and we did look really leggy out in that second half. And I mean, I'm not too downbeat about a point. I mean, we've won a lot of games this season that I didn't expect us to. I didn't expect us to win 2-0 at Palace. Definitely didn't expect us to win 3-0 at Brentford. Didn't expect 6 points from Liverpool and Spurs. So I feel, that I've been really treated this season by Arsenal, and a draw away at a ground that we notoriously don't do well at is not something I'm going to turn my nose up at, especially when we've got Forest on the horizon, who, they've beaten Liverpool, but we're back at the Emirates. Hopefully get a win. I'd like to see a bit more rotation against PSV, because I do think, like I say, we are starting to see some players, Martinelli, Saka, even Jesus to an extent, are a bit dead on their feet at times. So, and I think players like Nketiah, Vieira, when they came on, they looked a little bit rusty. So I think, rotation against PSV, all guns blazing against Forest, hopefully take our chances a bit more in the first half if they come to us, and then get the ball rolling, get that winning mentality back before we go to the bridge.
Yeah. I like the sound of that. The bit of positivity, and maybe as Amanda was talking about earlier, that when there's a few hours to let the dust settle, when we can take the context of this weekend in, we've gained a point on Liverpool because they lost. We've matched what Man United and Chelsea did because they played out a draw yesterday, and we've gained a point on Tottenham. So you got to look at that from that sort of positive side. I mean, the Man City result to one side, but I'm going to stick with you, Cookie, just on the lineup stuff first, and then we'll get Amanda in as well. And the reason
are you going to bring Tomiyasu and Tierney? I
am, because James and I have a very similar view with regards to the decision today of Tomiyasu. I'll just read through the team. So we went Ramsdale in goal. It was Ben White at right back, Saliba, Gabriel centre half, Tomiyasu at left back. Pause for dramatic effect. Party sitting in front of them, Erdegaard and Xhaka either side in the eights, and then our front three, which is a very familiar front three right now, which is Saka, Jesus, and Martinelli. James, what did you think of that lineup?
I was fine with the lineup apart from the one that we agree on, which is that Tomiyasu shouldn't have started this game. And I've got nothing against Tomiyasu. For what it's worth, I don't think he was awful today, but I think we've got a better player on the bench. And, better play, that's a bit subjective. But in that position, Tierney, for me, is still one of the best left-backs in the Premier League. And he's banging form at the minute. So why you wouldn't start him, for me, it's mind-boggling. And as good as Tomiyasu is, I still think he's better on the right. And in terms of someone going forward, he's better on the right. And when Southampton have got Kyle Walker-Peters out, and they had, I can't remember his name, number 4 at right back, who was pretty dead on his feet at 60 minutes. We really should have been playing Tierney from the start. He really could have. You saw when he came on just how fresh and how sharp he was. So I was really disappointed not to see him start. And my worry is he's going to be looking at this thinking, okay, against Liverpool, tactical thing, makes sense, but then he's not started at Leeds, he's not started at Southampton, he's kind of confined to the Europa League games. When Zinchenko comes back, is Tierney third choice? I mean, he's far too good of a player to be third choice left back, and I just don't understand the decision why we stuck with Tierney. I completely got it against Liverpool, didn't get it against Leeds. I kind of got it maybe if Sinistera was playing on that side, which he ended up not playing on that side. And I completely didn't understand it today because there wasn't really anyone on that side of the pitch that would have been a massive threat to us. I just think it kills us going forwards, and Tomiyasu can be a little bit exposed when he's coming up against players that aren't inverted. So, I didn't get it. Didn't think it worked. Didn't think it worked against Leeds. He's a right back. Play him at right back. Maybe the odd game at centre half. Left back if we need him to. But we've got a phenomenal player on the bench. He should have started, should have played. I'm not going to say that's where the game was won or lost, but I think it's a change that could have seen us potentially cause more damage in the first half.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to bring Amanda in this one as well. I was just going to say, let's come to their goal later, because I think maybe, you can ask a question to Tomiyasu. Again, I didn't think he was that bad either, as you say. I didn't think he did anything massively wrong, but there's maybe a question on that goal. But let's come back to that in a second. Amanda, is this a case of Arteta just saying, I don't want to change a winning team, do you think?
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, look, I hold my hands up. I was wrong before the game when Tomiyasu was named. I saw Tom of Gooner Talk TV and James have a little conversation, and I agreed with Tom. I wouldn't have changed it. I initially thought that they were saving Tierney for Europe, but it doesn't really make sense, does it? What I feel there is a problem is that he's trying to fit a 5 into a back 4 because we want them all on the pitch. How does he do it? Ben White, especially the first half, was unbelievably awesome. Okay.
Sensational.
Tomiyasu, whenever he's played for us, again, not so much on the left side, but on the right side, awesome. Gabriel, Saliba, Tierney. What do you do? I mean, is his plan that he's thinking of playing Tomiyasu, their left back, more regularly than Tierney? I don't know. I really don't know, but I was wrong. And James definitely, Cookie Below was right because he did get exposed. It didn't work. It worked brilliantly against Liverpool. And sometimes I think with Arteta, I wonder if he just gets excited about a new thing that's worked and he just wants to continue it. You really shouldn't change a winning team, but you do have to look at the next team you're playing and play the correct team. So maybe he did get that wrong. Tierney's fabulous, but Tomiyasu's fabulous. Ben White is fabulous. You know, again, we saw Saliba, which is odd, make a mistake today. He makes one mistake a game. Gabriel's fine. So what does he do? And Zinchenko, I just love Zinchenko, but no way is Zinchenko as good as Tierney at left back, but he's better going forward. It is a lovely problem to have, but I think we're all going to be, I'm assuming, at the Emirates next Sunday, and I think we'll see Tierney at left back.
Yeah, I do wonder, and I wonder what happens with the PSV game now and whether or not that impacts Arteta's thinking. Andy Love, actually, in the comments, has
just going to put that up. I was just going to say to you,
point.
Yeah,
he says, I don't think Arteta likes Tierney and Martinelli playing at the same time. I do think that in the way that we've started applying our left back almost as an inverted sort of player, in the way like Zinchenko has drifted in field. Tomiyasu did it once or twice as well today, where he just drifts in field and then they rotate. I think even Xhaka would drop out into that sort of left back position. And I wonder whether or not having a player like Zinchenko enables Martinelli to drive more, and do Martinelli and Tierney work, or is that his thinking? James, what do you reckon on that? Andy's thoughts there.
And I want to bring one more question after James has spoken. Go on.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not entirely sure. I mean, I guess from a defensive point of view, Tierney's going to bomb on and probably leave us quite exposed in that area of the pitch. But then again, Zinchenko does the exact same thing, if not to a higher extent. So I don't know. It wouldn't make too much sense to me. I think it's just a case of he's tweaked on Tomiyasu working in that game against Liverpool and kind of wants to stick with it, like we spoke about before. He doesn't want to change your winning team. So I don't know. Tierney and Martinelli have played together many a time before. I remember even when the two of them came into the side under Emery, like they played a lot of games together on that left-hand side. So I'd be very surprised if it was a case of that. So for me, I don't think that's the reason for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I said this, what Lynn just said. Welcome to the show, Lynn. Do you think that Arteta is trying to protect KT from injuries? Because Carl and I were talking about this. Oh, by the way, Carl's not in the chat room tonight because I can say what I want because he's watching Doctor Who. More important than watching his girlfriend. But hey. And I said this to Carl. I said, I think he must be protecting him. What do you two think?
I think there's probably something in that. Let's bear in mind that Kieran Tierney's been with us, 3 years or 4 years now? It doesn't really matter exactly how long he's been with us, but every year he's broken down at some stage. And last year when he broke down, it cost us big time.
Yep.
And so maybe there's an element of Arteta trying to protect him, because I do think Arteta loves the player. He's always talked up Kieran Tierney, so I don't think he's suddenly decided you're not good enough for the club. I think maybe there's an element that he just wants to protect him. I wonder as well if he's still trying to get KT used to the new style that we're adopted with these inverted fullbacks. I do think there comes a point, and I think, as Cookie was just saying, I think we're at the point now where we need to say, Kieran Tierney, if he's going to play against PSV, he's the one that's coming on for 15 minutes so that he's fresh for Nottingham Forest, and you play someone else at left back, not Tomiyasu. If you're going to play Tomiyasu at left back against PSV because you want to protect Kieran Tierney for the Nottingham Forest game, fine. But it's almost like there needs to be a flip from, because Kieran Tierney's playing in all of the Europa League games, we can't risk him as much for the Premier League games. We need to flip that now back to, let's have him playing in the Premier League games. Obviously, I haven't got Zinchenko, and let's find another solution in the Europa League games. Cookie, what do you reckon?
Yeah, it'd be the exact same for me, mate. I don't think we should be, playing Tierney. Even in that game coming up against PSV, I would try and look for another solution at left back. I'd probably play Tomiyasu at left back again there and bring Cedric in for his first game of the season on the right hand side. I mean, I know we really, really, really want to sew up top spot in the group, but I mean, we've got that game against Zurich at home, which we should win. All we need is a point on Thursday, which, away from home in Holland's going to be definitely not an easy game. But look at how dead legs we were in the second half today. We just need to rotate that little bit more. And those are the sort of changes I'd make. And I definitely want Tierney to start at the weekend, because even if Zinchenko does come back to training, I think it's highly unlikely that he'd start the game. And like I was saying before, he's a really, really, really good left back, and he's too good to be sitting on our bench, and he'll start second guessing himself. And probably, I wouldn't blame him if he pushed for a move, because he's that good of a player that he can be starting week in, week out for pretty much, a lot of teams in the Premier League. And I do completely get the notion that, we want to preserve him and keep him fit, but what's the point in having a player of his quality if we're not going to play him now in the games that matter, and then just roll out a red carpet for him in the big games? Just say, go on, Tierney, give it your all for 90 minutes, and then we'll package you away until we've got City away, until, then we'll put you away again, and then we'll bring you out for Liverpool away. It's like, what's the point? He's a really good player. He should be starting games. If he gets injured, that's just part and parcel. If we want to be a Champions League team, these players have got to get used to the demands that are going to come on them, because, the games in midweek will be hell of a lot more demanding than PSV, than Zurich, than Bodo. So, we've got to get over this kind of hurdle that we're facing at the minute. And I'm sure, as the squad develops, we will. But this is just part of being an elite team. You've got to be able to play this many games in such a short space of time.
We've got some more comments on this. Do you want me to put them up?
Yeah, put a couple up, but I think we should probably move on from just talking specifically about Tierney. So we'll let some of our viewers just kind of read some of the comments as we go through them. But let's talk about the good stuff. Actually, let's go into some good stuff, because that first half we were fantastic. We created lots of chances. And much like the game against PSV and much like the game against Leeds in the first half, we didn't quite put away our chances. And we've now got 3 data points where we only scored 1 goal, and where we haven't really been able to take advantage and get that second goal, which probably kills off the game, because I think Southampton were there for the taking today. I didn't think Southampton were a particularly fantastic team. I expected them to press us a lot more than they did. They sat in, they tucked in, but we dominated the ball in that first half. Granit Xhaka goal on 11 minutes. Oh. What a fantastic strike that was. Amanda, some thoughts on that Granit Xhaka goal, and also a bit of a tip of the cap to Ben White and Saka, who were involved in the build-up.
We started off exactly how I wanted us to, just like we do most games. Just brilliant football, fast-paced. In there, I personally think, and it's probably exaggerate a little bit, in total today, we could have had 6 or 7 goals if we'd have taken our chances and maybe got a couple of penalties that I'm sure we're going to come to. But do you remember the ball that Saka whipped in, and the first 5 minutes, and someone could just get a head or a boot to it? I mean, it was such a beautiful cross in. I was like, oh, it's not going to be one of these days, is it? Because that would have gone in normally. And then you get Ben White coming down the wing, playing with, I mean, honestly, with Saka, then this ball in from Ben White to Saka's foot, a volley like this. I mean, honestly, Xhaka, would you have even, I mean, this time a year ago, say, and I'd have said to you that Xhaka's got, I don't know how many goals he's got, 4 goals now, whatever it is, yeah. Would you have laughed at me if I'd have said this, that he's now in the box scoring goals like this? And honestly, what a beautiful goal and beautiful play by Ben White and Saka. And this is what I mean about goals coming from everywhere. This is what we need, because unfortunately, as much as Jesus gives so much to the team, he's not scoring at the moment, so someone else needs to. Martinelli looked a little bit off it today, didn't he? So it has to come from somewhere else. And Partey was Partey against Spurs or Liverpool? I can't remember which one he scored against. Spurs. So they're coming into midfield scoring, which is fabulous, which we've always needed. We need that to continue. But big up to Ben White in the first half. Jesus. I said to Carl, I haven't really got a man of the match. At the end, we were like, who could you give it to? There wasn't really anyone. But for the first half performance, it would have been Ben White.
Yeah, I thought Ben White is fantastic. And actually, what I've seen from him this season, I guess, shows you why Arteta wanted to pay all that money for him, because he's a very intelligent footballer. This is a guy that has just played centre-half for Arsenal for the whole of last season, and he's come in at right-back, and he's adapting his game. Like at the beginning of the season, he wasn't making those overlapping runs as much, but this time, he's played 10, 11 games at right-back now, maybe 12 games at right-back, and he's making those runs like as if he's been playing right-back for years. I think he's such an impressive footballer, Ben White, and I'm really glad that we're seeing what a versatile and adaptable player he is. James, from your perspective, you want to talk about that goal? And I'll tell you what, why don't you wax lyrical about Granit Xhaka as well?
Yeah, just before we get onto that as well, I mean, I want to chip in on the Ben White loving, because what he's doing, like you were saying, adapting his game and what he's added going forward, because when he first came in, I was like, okay, he's really solid defensively, but we could probably still do with a little something going forward. When Tomiyasu's fit, maybe he slots right back in. A lot of people were saying that, in fairness, but we don't need to now, because he's added this extra layer to his game where he's able to get forward. His crossing is really good, by the way, really, really good. And I just don't think, Tomiyasu's getting in ahead of him at right back anytime soon, unless it's for a Europa League game. And he's not played a single minute, I don't think, for us at centre-half this season. And I'd be interested to see if he does slot in a centre-half again at some point, because I just remember last season, I was like, this guy's a phenomenal centre-half. And now I'm thinking he's a phenomenal right-back. And I will be almost in tears for him if he doesn't make that England squad, because he is head and shoulders above the likes of Harry Maguire. And he certainly deserves to be in that. That's a different discussion entirely. But what a player. Really fortunate to have him. And I don't know if you guys have seen his interview after the game when someone questioned him on Arsenal being bullied, and he just completely shut down the interview. He's a fantastic man.
What did he say?
I didn't see that either.
Just watch the interviews. Interviewer says to him, do you think in these games away from home it's important for Arsenal not to get bullied? And he just gives a little pause. He's like, yeah, I don't think we got bullied. I can't quite remember where that happens, but he just makes it nice and awkward for the press, and that's what I like about him. But yeah, onto your question about Xhaka. I mean, I could wax lyrical all day about him this season, not just on today's game, but every game he's played in this season. He's had a beyond 7 out of 10 in some of them, and we're really lucky to see him playing what is, I think, is comfortably the best football he's had of his Arsenal career. And I know, he's one of the older players in the squad. He's just turned 30, but I hope he's one of those players that kind of peaks at this stage, and he can do this until maybe the age of hopefully 33, 34, so we don't have to upgrade anytime soon. But he's such a good player, and I never thought he had this in his locker. Like I think we always knew he had a shot from distance on his left foot, but I never expected Granit Xhaka to be getting goals on the half volley with his weak foot. So that's come as a really, really pleasant surprise, beating men, going past them, putting in delicious crosses, all-round team player, and where we would be without him, God knows, because he's such an important player in this team in a minute. And I quite, like the idea of when Smith Rowe comes back, what he can learn from Xhaka, because I think they're kind of similar players in a way. And I don't know. It's a completely different discussion, that, but very exciting to have him in the team and playing so well.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Ben Watt, get your words right, Chris. Granit Xhaka, that's the guy. In the second half, I don't want to keep jumping backwards and forwards, but this has just popped into my head. In the second half, I noticed our passing was way off. Yeah. Thomas Partey, and I don't know if it was a fatigue thing or whatever it was, but Thomas Partey was off on a number of occasions. I'm going to talk about the subs later as well, because that didn't work to me, particularly Fabio Vieira. But one person who I didn't have any issues with whatsoever in terms of his passing range, in terms of fatigue or anything like that, is Granit Xhaka, and he plays all the time. So it's just a mark of the man that he is essentially one of the first names on the team sheet, and he's also now influencing games in a way that he's never done before. So that's good. That's really, really good. But So let's talk about some of the other incidents of that first half. Amanda, I'm going to go to you. Why on earth are we not given a penalty in that first half?
Which one are we talking about? Are we talking about Jesus? Should we start with that one?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I don't know. And I'm one of these people that, how can I put this? I really don't moan about referees. I moan about VAR all the time, VAR. I don't moan about refs. Rarely. I just don't. Well, I have not stopped all day. I honestly think that is one of the worst refereeing performances I've seen in many, many, many years. It was so poor that we were getting fouled left, right, and centre. And he was just continuing. Can we just talk about the Saka thing? This is where I went mental to begin with, right? If you think he's dived, but you're not sure, don't book him. Just give the free kick. You're entitled to make a mistake. It's very hard in that split second to see if someone's dived or not. But to actually say he's dived purposely is a disgrace. Not only that, I hope he watches this game back and comes out and apologises to us. It should have been a foul for us. It took Saka out. And honestly, I was like going mad. I actually dropped the C-bomb here today, and my neighbours probably would have heard that many a time. And he's hugging Jesus.
Yeah.
You can't even pull a shirt anymore, but he's allowed to hug him. I mean, you can forget pictures and stuff. I know you shouldn't look at still pictures or any of that, but the still picture is he's hugging him. Now, that's a penalty. I don't care what anyone says, because you know I often argue with quite a few people. That is a penalty. I'm not having it.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see one person say it wasn't, apart from opposing fans. I don't really care about that. I don't know. And I don't know what VAR are doing, because I thought they're supposed to look at every incident. So you're telling me the 3 penalties we should have had, not one of them was given, looked at. He didn't send him to the monitor, nothing. I'm beyond, I don't know. But there is 2 things here, Chris, yeah? We didn't lose because of the ref. We lost because we weren't clinical. But you don't know how it's affected them. We get that penalty, we go 2-0 up. Most likely we go 2-0 up. Different game. So I'm still fuming with the ref, but we have to get over it. Okay, we just have to, because we could wax lyrical about him all bloody night.
James, are you still fuming with the ref? What were your thoughts on the number 6? I'm going to say his surname, so I'm going to butcher it. Is it Chaleta or Caleta Sarr? But honestly, throughout the whole game, he was wrestling Gabriel Jesus, and it almost became a bit of a joke, really. And I think this is one of the problems. My opinion is, this is one of the problems when you get a referee that wants to let things go. You're going to get players that just push it a little bit more each time. They push their luck. And if they know they're going to get away with it, they keep doing it. So what was your kind of thoughts in terms of refereeing performance today, penalties in that first half?
I don't want to go over the top, but that referee should not be refereeing in this league again. Completely out of his depth. I don't know how much. I know he's a relatively new ref to the league, and I was looking back at his history, and he's refed a hell of a lot of League 2 football, which I think really showed today. And I mean, I'm not going to talk about the Saka one, because that infuriated me just as much as I'm pretty sure it infuriated every other Arsenal fan. You've covered that really well, Amanda. But the Jesus one, the only reason I can think they've not given it is because it happened literally 30 seconds after we scored. And I just think they've got, they've just scored, it doesn't matter. VAR should be, because for me, it's a clear and obvious error to just wave play on. Why is VAR not intervening in that? Why is VAR not intervening in the incidents where Lianco has punched Jesus not once, but twice in the back? And again, when Lianco has put his hand on Nketiah's throat and gone to headbutt him, that's 2 red card offences right there. And he got away with a yellow. And when you look back, this is the thing that frustrates me most. And I must have referenced this one more times than I can, I care to imagine. But that David Luiz foul away at Wolves, when he got a penalty given and a red card, and his stud brushed the back of, I think it was Jimenez's heel. Like, come on. Like, all we ask for is a bit of consistency. And all you've got to do is look back, not even 24 hours to that game against Chelsea and United. That McTominay one isn't even as bad as the one that we saw on Jesus. And I just, it makes you really question why you watch this sport when the people that are meant to see it, played fairly, just make it so unwatchable at times. It's beyond frustrating. It's beyond incompetent. And someone like that, like, who's given him the green light to referee a match like this? Because, like you said, Amanda, we didn't deserve to win the game today, but it's moments like this that will cost you. And it will, I'm certain it will happen at a pivotal moment this season. And we'll look back and go, yeah, that's cost us, a point.
But the thing is, James and Chris, if he's missed it, and that's fair enough, or he was at a different angle, where are VAR? Do you know that if this was at the Emirates and that was Gabriel,
VAR didn't intervene with anything today.
Nothing. We haven't stopped for anything, did we?
No, even on the commentary, they weren't even saying, that VAR have had a look at it. So they didn't seem to be there.
But the thing is, what's even worse about this is that we've had games where VAR interrupt everything. Today, it was like they weren't there. Why have they not pulled him to the screen? Take a look at Jesus, and it's your opinion. We think it's a penalty. I'm sorry, the problem you're going to get, and I keep saying this again and again, penalties are always going to be about opinions, yeah? They always are. They're not factual, like over the line, okay, or offside, I suppose. But no one can deny that he was cuddled. There are pictures of him being cuddled by that defender. What are VAR looking at, and why have they not? And I'm still asking that question, James, because nothing was stopped today. There was nothing on the scoreboard to say, looking at this, whatever it was, offside, whatever, nothing. It was like it was like the old days. Do you not think that?
Yeah, absolutely. Completely. And do you know what? This goes back to what I was saying earlier on. I think the problem is that as soon as that defender knew, well, I can get away with this in the box.
Yep.
He then did it for the entire game. There was a couple of instances where he's just wrestling. Even Alan Smith was like, hold on a second. This is the third or fourth time that he's done this now. Surely that's got to be a foul. I mean, Alan Smith is an ex-Gooner, we know, and of course he's got his soft spot for us, but he's a very impartial guy when he's on commentary. You can always tell that. And even Alan Smith and his co-commentator were saying, well, that surely is a foul, isn't it? And this guy had made about 4 or 5 of those challenges. He should have been off. We're not even talking about their number 4. I can't say what's his name again? Lianco. Less not even him and his hot-headedness. He should have been off. But this guy as well, accumulation of fouls, or at least you book him early, or you call him up early on and say, I can see you got your hands all around the guy. Next time you do it, you're booked. And he doesn't do it again. And we get an actual fair and honest way in which we're refereeing a game. But anyway, so we go in at half-time. We've been utterly dominant. And I thought to myself, even at half-time, probably should have got the second. We probably need a second now. The second didn't come. And we started to look a little bit, we started to give Southampton a little bit of hope, a little bit of impetus. What were your kind of initial thoughts on the first sort of 10, 15 minutes of that second half, Cookie?
Underwhelming. I mean, a lot of the games we've seen in the second half this season have been, for the most part, positive. It's normally been a case of we've had a pretty languid first half and then come out in the second half and just blown teams away. But it was the complete opposite. And like I mentioned earlier, I do think a case of that is fatigue, that we couldn't just slip the gear knob into fifth. Because we just run out of steam. Like there wasn't any petrol left in the tank. And had we got another goal in the first half, I think that would have been enough for us to just cruise in third. But unfortunately, we didn't have quite enough there to see us over the line. And credit to Southampton. I mean, they plugged away. They had that period where they had so many corners in a row. And then the goal, like you've got to say, it's really well worked. It's a tidy finish. And then we just couldn't go ahead and win the game. And I'm kind of fortunate that we didn't end up throwing it, because last season this does feel like the sort of game that we would have lost. And given the context around things and the games we've had in recent weeks, like I say, that PSV game took a lot more than we might have hoped to win it in the end. And we haven't been able to rest players as much as we would have liked. I mean, in that context, I'm more than happy with a point. And going back to what I said earlier, we picked up points where we maybe didn't expect to this season. So, we would probably due a draw. It's a team that we don't play particularly well against away from home at St Mary's. Yeah, I'm not going to complain too much. Still top of the league by 2 points. Happy days.
Yeah, exactly. Amanda, let's talk about the goal that they scored. So I referenced this right at the beginning of tonight's show. You know, I love Tomiyasu. I think he's a great defender. I just wonder if he gets turned a little bit easier for their goal. What were your kind of thoughts on whose fault it was? Was it anyone's fault? Was it just, as James said, a really well-worked goal and we just have to take our medicine?
Well, I think first of all, there was a comment before, but I didn't put it up. The fact that we haven't given credit to Southampton, we are. You definitely deserve the point. I said that at the beginning of the show. It was our problem. We came out as James said, totally underwhelmed. Totally, it was like we're like a game of two halves at the moment, and we've got to stop it because we are going to end up losing soon if this continues. I don't know whose fault it was. I rewound it back, had another look. Was it Tomiyasu? Was it just a well-worked goal? It was a good goal. Listen, you've got to give credit to their manager at half-time. We completely changed it, and he completely overwhelmed us. We couldn't even put a couple of passes together. I do believe it was fatigue. And Matthew D'Souza just, I'm just going to put this up. Why fatigue when we're resting so many midweek? We didn't rest so many. They came and played. That was the problem. Carl was screaming about that on Thursday night. He's saying, why are we playing these players when we got the league? Now, this is the next thing that I was going to say. Because the thing is, we need to win the Europa League and we need to win the Europa League, full stop. Because we want to win a trophy. Come in top four, of course. I know that'll be another conversation for another day. So they're just as important for me as the league games. I think it was a really good goal, if I'm honest, from Southampton. They looked like a completely different team second half, and we were tired. I can't argue about it. Listen, we know 18 months ago, a year ago, we'd have lost that game. We don't win at St Mary's. I actually predicted 2-2. Cole predicted 4-1. I said, no way, I can't see that today. We didn't play that well at Leeds either, second half. Or first half, whatever half it was, I can't remember. But we've done it again and we've got a draw. So he's got to look at this a little bit, change it around. Martinelli was ill in the week. Maybe that affected him and that's why he came off. Because I really thought he was going to bring on Eddie for Jesus, if I was honest, and he didn't. Hopefully next couple of months we'll have Emil Smith-Rowe coming back, maybe January time. We need some fresh legs, definitely. And we need Jesus to start scoring. I'm so gutted because I absolutely love him. But he's got to put some of those chances away. We had so many chances today that we don't normally get that. And I felt it was really unfair on social media when I'd say Arsenal fans, in quote, were saying it was like Lacazette part 2. Jesus is a million times better than Lacazette. So come on, that's really, really poor, I think. And I don't know if it's done for a reaction, but no, I just felt that they deserved their goal and we were lucky to come away with a point in the end.
Yeah, I mean, James, let's stick on Gabriel Jesus, actually. Do you think we should start to be concerned with his lack of goal scoring? I'm less inclined to think about that, but I do think he wasn't great today. And there was one instance where he turned his man and he was basically through on goal, but he didn't seem to. It's like the ball just didn't get caught in. It got caught in his feet, didn't it? And I think it was El Yusi, or however you say his name, just kind of scrambled back and managed to get the block in, or managed to put him off. Are you concerned by performances like today from Gabriel Jesus, and then also the Leeds one as well?
I don't think concerned would be the right word, because it's not like it's been months since he scored. I think, he scored in the North London derby. That was only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it? So it's not like he's not been, without the goals, and he's still been. Even if he doesn't get a goal or assist, the thing is he still does contribute. Like, that's what we didn't get with Lacazette. Yeah. He's running all the time. He's making the pass before the final pass. He's always in and about there and making himself involved. So I'm not too, if he's not scoring, I always know he's doing something else. Which the worry with Lacazette was he'd drop off and he'd drop off. Like, that was literally it. You'd lose a man essentially. We don't have that with Jesus. I suppose there were 2 chances today that I feel he should have buried. That one where he was essentially one-on-one, and okay, so he's on his weak foot, but effort was tame, like really, really poor, I thought. And that other one where Erdegaard just clipped it through. Oh, it's beautiful. And then it just hits his shin. And, it's still a half decent effort, but if he gets it on his foot, it should be a goal, but he just slightly misjudges it. That's where it's a little bit concerning, because they're the chances that you pay the money for him to take, pretty much. But then again, you look back to the goal he did get against Spurs. We don't score that last season because Lacazette's not there to score it. So, it's those moments where he's there in the right place at the right time. Let's not forget, he's coming off the back of a very slight injury. And I do think he was very good in the game against PSV on Thursday. But again, just couldn't find that finishing touch. But beating men, getting around people, I was doing it at ease. That's the element of his game that is so good. And that assist he got against Bodo as well, where he beat a couple of people, then played it through. He's still contributing, and I'm certain the goals will come. We've got a brilliant opportunity for him to get a goal on Sunday. I wouldn't play him on Thursday. Give him like the full week off, full guns blazing on Sunday. He might surprise us with a hat-trick. But just look at the goal contribution he's got this season. There's goal and assist contribution. There's no need to be worried about him, because he's he's a massive upgrade on what we had before. But the one thing I would say is, I would like to see a bit more of a push from Eddie to let him know that he's kind of there, breathing down his neck, to let him know, if you're not scoring those opportunities, I'm going to be there to take him. And I was a bit underwhelmed when Eddie came on today.
Do you know what? I'm going to move on to those now, actually. Let's talk about the substitutions, because Arteta made a substitution on 71 minutes and 72 minutes. He brought on Kieran Tierney for Ben White, and then shifted Tomiyasu to right back. And then he brought Gabriel Martinelli off for Nketiah, and played Nketiah as a left sort of winger. And then on 83 minutes, he brought off Ødegaard and brought on Fabio Vieira. And I'll be honest with you, and Amanda, I just want to get your thoughts on this. I thought none of the subs really... I thought Tierney did okay. Tierney got in behind a couple of times. There was the disallowed goal where Ødegaard scored, where he just run it out of play slightly. Slightly unlucky. Maybe on another day, he gets to that a split second earlier, and, we're coming away talking about a 2-1 win. But I thought that Nketiah came on, didn't really offer much, as James has just alluded to. And I thought Vieira came on and was terrible. His ball retention, he got knocked off of it a couple of times. He gave the ball away for a couple of chances. I thought he wasn't very good either. What's your sort of thoughts on the subs? Did they work? Didn't they work? What do you reckon?
I think with Eddie, I was talking about this, and I'm not sure. I'm going to ask you what you think. Maybe he's not the sort of player that's going to thrive coming off the bench. Maybe he needs to start from minute one to get his confidence. I don't know. But he missed, didn't he? He missed the chance, I think. I want it to work for Eddie so much, but we've got to find someone that can put the ball in the back of the net a bit more consistently. None of it really worked. You're right. They didn't. But Tierney didn't do anything wrong. Vieira looked a bit lost, which is surprising because I love it when he comes on. We have got Marquinhos. I think I've said that right tonight, Marquinhos. We have got some different players we could bring on. But, I never sit here and criticise Arteta because I don't feel the need to. Today, I feel a little bit that he's made a couple of the wrong decisions. As we're saying, Tomiyasu at left back, maybe not play Martinelli if he wasn't well in midweek, because he didn't really bring much to the game, did he? It's just one of those games, isn't it, that we're lucky to get a point, and that's all I hold on to. And the fact that we move on. We've got PSV, we've got Nottingham Forest. It's going to be a very, very strange season, but not only for us, for everybody. It all stops in a couple of weeks. And all of a sudden, it's like the end of the season, World Cup, and then the season starts again. So God knows. This is why I'm saying to everybody now, enjoy it. Enjoy where we are, because this might not last. I don't know what's going to happen after the World Cup.
Yeah. Cookie, I'm going to give you a stab at the subs as well, because you mentioned, obviously, you didn't think Nketiah was that good when he came on. But thoughts on White for Tierney, and then also Martinelli for Nketiah, and then also Ødegaard for Fabio Vieira?
I thought Tierney was fine. Didn't have any problems with him. I mean, he fashioned that, what would have been a great goal if it hadn't gone out of play ever so slightly. So no complaints from him. As I said earlier, I think he should have started the game. I can't really grumble about the Vieira one too much, because he's the sort of player that we've brought in for these moments. Like, he's the one we want to look to on the bench to come in, and when we're fighting for a win, bring him on and hopefully gives us a bit of impetus. I don't think the Ødegaard substitution was the right one to make, just because in hindsight, he was playing very well at that moment in time. He was the one that was ticking us over. You know, he had that opportunity that he put in the back of the net that was unfortunately ruled out. He looked in full ebb and flow, so I wouldn't have taken him off. If anything, I might have taken Xhaka off and just thrown Ødegaard and Vieira onto the pitch at the same time. Eddie didn't really offer much at all. Maybe that's because he's playing on the left, not centrally. You know, it worked okay against PSV, but I think we all know he wants to be playing out and out as a number 9. But yeah, the Vieira one was the one I was most disappointed with. And I think this has been my slight worry with him, is that he is so small and so slight. And he was just muscled off the ball far too easily so many times. And, you know, when you're coming up against a referee and a team like we were today, where they're kind of letting anything go, obviously it's not going to be in our favour. But saying that, I mean, fantastic in that game against Brentford. Similarly to what you think about Eddie, Amanda, could be the same for Vieira. Maybe he needs to be starting games for us to really see the best of him, because he was fantastic in that game against Brentford. So, you know, I hope he gets another opportunity on Thursday. We see what he's made of again. I do think he has had some brilliant moments this season, but it's just games like today where you do start to worry. You know, he is a very small man and he's very skinny as well. So when you're coming up against big, scary men like Lianco, obviously it's going to, you know, not come off in your favour all the time. But, you know, still a very exciting player, very young player as well. So just needs to bulk up a little bit, and, you know, we've got a very exciting player there for sure.
Yeah, I think he is. I do wonder, there might be something in that. I certainly think that it struggled to get into the pace of the game, and maybe that was the same with Eddie. And maybe you're right, because if you think about last season when Eddie was at his best, it was he came in and had a run of about 4 or 5 games because Lacazette was just so toilet that we had no other option, and he came in and he was good. But ultimately, you know, he even said it himself in that podcast. I can't remember which it was on, but he said, like, if I'm given game time and I don't score, that's on me. But he's been given just sporadic fits and starts at the moment. And when he has played, like against PSV on Thursday, he's playing wide left. I want to talk to you guys about Arteta and some of his decision-making today. And I want to caveat it, what I'm about to say, I'll caveat it by saying, I know we are top of the league. I know that Mikel Arteta has overseen this transformation in Arsenal Football Club, and we all love him to bits. I'm very thankful with the direction that we're going. I'm thankful that we are 2 points clear of a team in Man City who look unbeatable. And the way that we started the game is the way that I think that's Arteta's Arsenal. So all of that to one side, I do wonder if he is still making mistakes because he's a young manager, and he does tend to make decisions and want to stick with those decisions. So the Tomiyasu thing at left back, I thought it was a masterstroke. We've always kind of touched on this. Masterstroke when it's up against Salah, very specific threat, dealt with it, tactical genius. And then the decision to say, well, actually it's working, so I'm going to keep with it. Not sure on that. That feels slightly naive from my perspective. And then playing Eddie as a left winger on Thursday night, I don't think it worked. And yet his decision was still to say, Eddie, go on and play left wing. I would almost have preferred it if he'd have flipped Eddie and Gabriel Jesus and say, right, Gabriel Jesus, you now play as a left winger, and Eddie, you go through the middle, because it didn't quite work on Thursday. And he was asked about that in his post-match interview on Thursday, and he said something along the lines of he didn't really want to change too many players from their positions, and that's why he played Eddie left and he played Gabriel Jesus through the middle. But I would like to think that he would learn from it and say, do you know what, it didn't work, I'll change it. Long rambling monologue. I might as well ask you guys a question now. Amanda, your thoughts on, is this an example of he's still learning and he's still making the odd mistake here and there?
Yeah, I think so. But there might be an ulterior motive to this that we don't know. Remember when everyone was kicking off that Saliba hadn't come back and Saliba didn't want to play for us and Arteta didn't want him back? We don't know anything that goes on. We don't know any underlying injuries. We don't know anyone underlying fatigue. We don't know anything, Chris, really. In our opinion now, in hindsight, where you two and a couple of others thought Tierney should have been playing before the match and I didn't. Hindsight now, yeah, I do think he should have been playing Tierney. Maybe that is how Arteta thought as well. He's going to make mistakes. Every manager makes mistakes. Ferguson made mistakes. Wenger made mistakes. Pep makes mistakes. It happens. It's life. I don't think it's a biggie for me.
Okay, Cookie, I'm just going to come to you in just a second, but we are going to have some questions. So if anyone wants to ask any questions, you can put them in the chat, and then Amanda will read them and pick the best ones, and we'll see if we can get to some of those just towards the end of the show, which will be in about 10 minutes' time. But just going back to you, Cookie, Arteta, still making mistakes, still learning as a manager. What do you reckon?
I mean, if he's learning as a manager and we're top of the league, then I've not really got a problem with that, to be honest. I think the only real mistake he's made this season is maybe the Tomiyasu thing. But again, like, it's not as much of a deal breaker as it needs to be made out to be. Hopefully he'll learn from that. And when Zinchenko's back, it goes back to kind of White and Tomiyasu at right back. And then normality is restored at left back, where we've got the option of Tierney and Zinchenko. And, hopefully we're not having this discussion. The one thing I would say about the substitutions and playing Eddie on the left wing, there was a game this season, and I can't remember if it was either against Villa or Fulham, but they came back into the game. I think they pulled it back to 1-1, and we were desperate to win that game, and we brought Eddie on in similar fashion to what we did today. But instead of playing him out on the left, we kind of went in a 3-5-2 formation, and we really went for the jugular. I don't think we were in a position where we had to throw the kitchen sink at it today, because, we weren't at home, and, we didn't, as much as the 3 points would have been nice, we didn't desperately need them. I think that just kind of works a little bit more in our favour, because then you're playing Jesus and Nketiah a lot closer to each other rather than shoehorning Nketiah into the side on the wing. I don't think he likes playing there. Don't think it works. Didn't think it worked against PSV. I don't want us to persist with it because, there's been a lot pinned on Eddie, I think. We've given him the 14 shirt. He signed a new contract, and we didn't really do all this to play him out on the left-hand side of the pitch. And I know when Smith Rowe is back, he's probably going to get more minutes there, but we've got wingers in Marquinhos and Nelson. Surely we should be giving them an opportunity if we're going to put someone out and out as a left winger for the last 10, 15 minutes of a game rather than Nketiah. But, these are the moments where I do think there is that little bit of inconsistency from Arteta, for use of better words. But, like I say, we're top of the league. We're not in a position to be complaining at all. But there's always going to be things to improve upon. That's just how it is. But I'm confident we'll go into that game next week and on Thursday, and hopefully normality will be restored.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's look ahead, actually, to the next couple of games that we've got. I'm not going to be at the Emirates and Amanda on Sunday. I'm going to be in San Francisco. So if anybody knows a good place to have a drink and watch the football in San Fran, let me know, because I will be there bright and early in the morning.
There must be San Francisco Gooners. We've got every other state Gooners.
I'll look them up. I think it's the Bay Area Gooners.
Yeah, put it on Twitter.
Anyway, let's look ahead to Thursday. What, Amanda, do you want to see from an away trip to PSV? Which 1 point gets us through top of the group?
I wouldn't take any first teamer in the first 11. I wouldn't. I'd save it for Nottingham Forest. We need to win at home next Sunday. So let's play the reserves and try and get a point. If we lose, we lose. And then we've got to play a game the week after. Let's look on my calendar, actually. I think we play Zurich.
FC Zurich, yeah.
Yes, and we play at home. So we should get the 3 points then. Sorry, for me, I want them all rested, give them a week off, and then back Sunday, going mental at the Emirates. I don't even know what time. What time is it, Cookie? 2:00. Again, we're at 2:00 next Sunday at the Emirates, and it will be rocking.
It will be indeed. So, James, from your perspective, is there an argument to say that you want to take a few of the first teamers because we still want to at least pick up a point? Because if we take the kids and get heavily beaten by PSV, that means that we still have to get something probably from the FC Zurich game, in which, if you pick up a point against PSV on Thursday because you've rotated a little bit, then you can completely play all the kids for that Zurich game. You don't even have to have a single first teamer. So can I make an argument that convinces you not to play all the children on Thursday night against PSV?
Yeah, I wouldn't play like an entire 11 just of kids, because like you say, we'll just be back to square one by having to play a relatively strong team against Zurich to ensure top spots. So I wouldn't rotate as heavily as we didn't do this Thursday against PSV, because we played almost, half of the first team. I don't think we should be looking to play, Saka for a start. I don't want to see Saka, Martinelli or Jesus near the starting 11. I'd love to give Xhaka a rest, but that's the one that's ticking over in my mind. I'm not sure who comes in to replace him. As a back four, this is where I'd still want to keep things relatively strong. Cedric at right back, Tomiyasu at left back, Holding, and then either one of Gabriel or Saliba. And I think that should be enough to, defensively be enough. And then I guess it will be Sambi, Vieira, and then a front three of Marquinhos, Eddie, and Nelson, which, I'm not convinced by. I don't think that's strong enough, but we need to give Saka and Martinelli a rest. But I don't know who feels that Xhaka role. I think it's inevitable that Xhaka will annoyingly play this game again. So, but we've got him playing we've got him at number 6. If we had El Neni fit, then yeah, but we don't. So we just don't have anyone there to fill that left 8 role. Unless you've got any thoughts, Chris.
I don't know. I mean, in my head, I wonder whether you play Vieira and Odegaard in the 2-8s and see how that gets on. But because I think Vieira needs to play, he needs to get more minutes, and I just wonder.
Okay, so sorry, Chris. What about Marquinhos? He can play.
Yeah, but he'd play right wing.
Yeah,
so
but I'm saying we can.
2-8s.
Sorry, there's a lot of players we can leave behind. That's what I'm saying. Sorry. If Zinchenko's back, we can have him in there. We need to rest as many as possible, I'm afraid. Sorry, I argue with you two.
The thing is, the other thing that what I will say, though, is that Nottingham Forest at home, will be, you'd hope, less of a test than Southampton away. And to Cookie's point earlier, with going Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus up front in a 2, that's the sort of instance where game state makes a big difference. If we were playing Southampton at home today, James, do you think he would have done that? He'd have gone, screw it, let's go both of them up front, let's throw the kitchen sink, we're at home. I think he would have. Yeah,
if we're at home, I think he does. Just because, Southampton at home, you've got to win it, don't you? But as we're away, a point away from home in the Premier League, unless you're playing absolute rubbish, then it's never really an awful result.
Chris, I've got some questions and things, and I know you've got to shoot, so let's do it. There was one from Robert I want to pick up. Right. Nothing about Thursday, something different. When ESR returns, do you think it'd be possible we could see him playing in the number 8 role? I believe it was James that mentioned Xhaka and Emil playing similar styles. Go on, James.
Yeah, I really think it could work. Because if you look at the positions that Xhaka is occupying and the spaces he's getting into and the runs he's making, and we all know how good Smith Rowe is at beating a man and dribbling with the ball. These are all the things that Xhaka is doing, and getting into the right place at the right time. I think that it's a role that, based on how Xhaka has adapted his game, that's already Smith Rowe's game. So I think it would make complete sense to start him in a couple of games when he's back fit. Maybe if we've got an opportunity, if in the League Cup or the FA Cup to trial it, I think it would work really, really, really well. If not, he's still got a really good opportunity to get back into the side on that left hand side. But I think he's got a real claim to make in that left 8 role, and he's one of these players I just can't wait to be back, because it's easy to forget how good he is and how much he offers this team. I absolutely love the kid, and he's going to be like a new signing when he comes back into the team.
Correct. Before I move on, just want to say thank you to everyone in the chat room. You've been brilliant tonight. Sorry I can't get round to all of you, and thanks Robert for your comment as well. Okay, so
some great ones from Gordon in here.
Yeah, I know. If you like mustard. Barnaby Jones. Now, Barnaby is someone that watched me interview Mark Goldbridge. Barnaby's United, but weirdly lived in Southampton and was at the game today, obviously supporting Southampton. But he said, I still believe that Arsenal will struggle due to young squad. Second half, they struggled, I think, because of the atmosphere at St Mary's. We didn't hear Southampton until 53 minutes. And I know for a fact, because I commented how quiet it was, Barnaby. Trust me, we heard the players on the pitch. Right, here we go. So Avon Ted, thanks Avon. The FC Zurich game is 3 days before we go to Stamford Bridge. If we get a point against PSV, we can rest all the first team before Chelsea. So there is that, absolutely. Okay. Right, so Fiona thinks, yes, a mixture of youngsters and experienced players, particularly those that are not first choice. maybe that. Zinchenko in a Xhaka role, I so want him to try. That is from Dan Hudson. What do you think on that, Chris?
I think that's an interesting one. He certainly does that to some extent for the Ukraine. And so I think that's the problem that we've had, is that we're talking about fatigue at the moment and how we looked a little bit leggy, but we are also forgetting, and how the squad's a bit smaller, but we are forgetting that we've got long-term injury in El Neni, who would have played in some of these midweek games. We've got a long-term injury. Well, it's felt like a long-term injury in Zinchenko. He's been out for about a month, and he had an impact when he joined. And so we've not been able to play him in games. So that's another versatile player that potentially could be playing instead of Xhaka even for those midweek games, or could be rotated in. We've had Emil Smith-Rowe, who's a long-term injury as well. So we've been getting by and getting results with a fair few first teamers out injured. So, let's look at some of the positives there from that perspective. We've got players out injured, we've got players to return, and we're still top of the league. We're still playing well. Well, we're not playing great. Today wasn't great in the second half, but it was in the first. And I thought exactly the same with the Leeds match last weekend.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, next one is from Pete Geary. Would you rest Saliba for Forest as 1 yellow from match ban, and it will be the Chelsea game? What do you think, Cookie? Would you?
No.
I wouldn't either.
Definitely not. I don't think you can afford to rest your best players in a league game. You've just got to be playing on the edge of caution, really, and just hope he doesn't get a yellow card. Simple as that.
And if he does, we have to live with that.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Ben White that can slot in.
And Tomiyasu.
That follows in nicely to Robert's next statement. What about Ben White in defensive mid?
He did that for Brighton, didn't he? But I don't remember. I've not seen him play or was it for Leeds? But I've not seen him play that much in defensive midfield. I don't think we have that much of an issue to worry about Ben White shuffling him around at the moment. Because I think for the Europa League games, Sambi's doing all right. He's not pulling up trees, but he's doing all right. So we're resting Partey for those games. It's if Partey picks up an injury. If Partey picks up an injury, then we're going to need to have a plan B. Because Sambi played against Man United and he looked a little bit lost at times.
Okay. This one for you, Cookie. John Rose said, play 3-5-2 on Thursday. That's how you could rest Saka and Martinelli.
Yeah, potentially, but he's not going to do it. We're going to stick to this 4-3-3. Doesn't matter who the personnel are. So, yeah, don't think it's worth talking about.
No, it's fair enough. Okay. What do you think, everybody? Do you want to do some predictions, Chris, for Thursday and Sunday, and then we can shoot off?
I'll take a draw. Well, I'll take a 1-1 draw against PSV, see us through, bit of rotation, happy days, move on. And then Nottingham Forest, I'd like to see us get 2 or 3 goals against them. It's
not going to be easy, They're just beating Liverpool. I know it's at home, but they have just beaten Liverpool. So, okay, you're going for a draw on Thursday. And what is your actual prediction?
We'll have a 3-0 on Sunday.
Okay. Cooks?
I think scrappy win on Thursday, 2-1. Sunday. I think we're going to have a lot of pent up anger from today. So I'm going 5-0, Jesus with all the goals.
It's funny, actually. I'm a bit more with Chris. I think we're going to draw on Thursday, but I'm going 3-1 on Sunday. And I was going to say a Jesus hat-trick. I think it's going to come. I really, really do. And I hope that I've seen a few people arrive back home in the last few minutes, have said that some of the, stick went towards Jesus. This is not good. We need to continue the way we were going, supporting our players when we mess up. That's really, really interesting, important. Okay, so a couple of things. Please, everyone, if you're top of the league, can you go and press like? Because we need to press like so this gets out in the algorithms, apparently. I don't know what it all means, but apparently if you like the show, just press like and subscribe. We'll probably be back next Sunday evening after the game, if any of us can make it, if not Monday. I'm going to be on a Nottingham Forest pod this week. I've been asked to go on to chat to them about the game. I don't know when it's out. I'll let you all know. But it'd be nice to talk to the rival fans. And I imagine that they're probably a little bit hesitant about coming to us next Sunday. So, yeah. listen, we're top of the league. It wasn't great the second half. Let's just enjoy it again. Let's go and beat PSV on Thursday or get the point we need. And then let's rock the Emirates next Sunday. My thanks to Cookie for joining us. Big, massive thank you to Chris for hosting tonight. Such a brilliant host. Really, really good. Everyone in the chat room, thank you so much. It really means a lot to us that you come and join us. And if you could spread the word, fantastic. Thank you very much. Everybody, enjoy the rest of the evening. We're top of the league. We're all going to go and have a sit down, watch Match of the Day, and moan about the referee again. Good night, everyone.